Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today, I'm so excited to introduce you to Eva Blackwing, the author of Fae Lost. You're gonna love this book. It has fairies. Thank you for joining us from Texas by Skype. How are you?
I'm wonderful this morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I loved your book. It was so much fun to read. We're talking romance, a little erotica, some paranormal activity. Totally great adventure with justice.
Thank you. I'm so glad you liked it. It's definitely my book, baby.
Wow. How many are in the series?
There's 3 planned in the series. Hypothetically, it might be more depending on what the characters do, but 3 for sure.
Oh my goodness.
With some spin-offs planned.
How long did it take you to come up with the whole storyline with all the twists and turns that it takes?
So this one, it just kind of popped into my head. It took me about 3 weeks to write the first one. It's definitely taken longer for the second one. But
are you kidding me? It only took you 3 weeks to come up with this story?
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever do that again. But yeah, it just, when the story's right and the characters have something to say, they really tell you.
Wow, and it was a great cliffhanger at the end.
Thank you. I'm really excited for y'all to get the next one in March.
It's out in March?
March. Yeah.
Wow.
Probably end of March.
Well, your fans, because I know I am, must be like, when's the book coming?
Yeah. They've been anxiously awaiting, and I've had some stuff that made me need to hold off on it a little bit. But now, March, I've given myself a deadline.
Fantastic. What were some of the authors that influenced you along the way?
So I really love. I grew up reading fantasy novels. Lord of the Rings was the first book. Well, no, it was The Hobbit was the very first book I remember really reading. And then I loved Mercedes Lackey growing up, and Melanie Ron, and Anne Rice. And then some of the romance authors, I love Montana Ash and T.S. Joyce. Actually, there's a whole lot of really fabulous authors. Leah Storm and Lizzie Dunlap, and she goes by Elizabeth Dunlap. I call her Lizzie. But just, oh my gosh, I've met some really phenomenal authors lately too. So.
Wow, and why did you choose the name Moore, spelled M-O-R, for your main character?
I think I like it because, she is more than she expects she is. So it's just kind of a little play on words because, I think we all have a lot of potential and sometimes we don't realize it. And so this is the story of her realizing her full potential. So she's more.
Definitely. I love the way it played out and the men involved in her life. There are some really bad ones, but there were at least 4 great ones.
Yes.
Like, that's like every woman's dream, to have like 4 perfect guys that meet your needs in different areas.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not something that I would personally want, I think, because it's hard to keep one guy happy. But I think it's important to recognize that we all have these different facets of our personality, and she needed several to help her along. And that's just kind of fun.
I know, but I love that whole aspect of it. It was so, like, at the beginning, it was so, really? And then as it played out, you were like, ooh,
This
I
makes
like this.
sense.
And then you find out who they really are, and you're like, wow, this is really good. It's such a good story. It just pulls you in and drags you along on this fabulous adventure.
Oh my gosh. You're just making me feel all warm and fuzzy this morning.
I sincerely enjoyed every last page. And I got to the end and I was like, she doesn't have the next book out.
It will be out soon. And I plan on getting the third one out fairly quickly too. So I don't want to make anybody wait longer than they have to.
Is writing your full-time job or your second job?
It's my second job. It's my life goal job. Hopefully one day it will be the full-time.
I just can't believe. So you work full-time doing what?
I'm a speech pathologist. So I work in a skilled facility helping dementia patients.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Okay, I believe you.
No, they're really wonderful. It's quite a blessing to be able to be involved with somebody towards the end of their life and to help ease them and be part of their family then.
Really? I think it would be sad.
You know, they've all had really fantastic lives, most of them, and I love being able to help them in the next stage and through, because dementia is a really, really hard disease. And I think it's a blessing that I get to help ease them and their families some. So it's hard, not gonna lie. It's really hard, but I like it.
Wow. And you found time to write the first book in 3 weeks?
Yeah, I'm not totally sure how I did that. There was very little sleep, and a lot of praying about it. Like, please get me through this day.
Oh, that's amazing. And so tell me about indie publishing. What was the struggle?
Sure. Well, trying to figure out how to do it. So a lot of times now, it's really hard to get into the traditional publishing houses because you have to have an agent, but you don't get an agent unless you've already published. So it's fairly circular and hard to break into. So indie publishing, I really love because it enables people to get their story out there where otherwise they may not be able to. So you just have to. I actually hired an author assistant to help me figure out how to navigate it. And that was like a really great idea for me. And then, you have to figure out how to set up the groups and have to figure out how to download and how to format and edit. And it was way more involved than I expected it to be. But
Wow, I can imagine. But it turned out so good. And your fans love it. So how does that feel?
It's really surreal. It's so surreal. And then I actually got invited to go to an event in New Orleans in June, and some of them are coming to meet me, and that's just like, it's so exciting and terrifying because I don't want to let anyone down.
Well, I know how they feel because it's so exciting to meet somebody who can transport you to another world and place.
Yeah. There are some of the authors who are going, and I am absolutely fangirling over them. Like, I cannot wait to meet them myself because they're so wonderful, and I'm just like, and then to have somebody feel that way about me is just, I just really want to make sure I'm making them happy, because I use reading as an escape, and I want that for other people too.
Well, your romance definitely takes people away on an escape. So is that the Crown event called the Court of Sin?
Yes.
How appropriate.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's the very first one. It's being organized by Reese Copeland, and I am just so ecstatic that she invited me to be a part of it. There's going to be some really cool parties, and it's designed to be a really intimate event. So this is the very first one I've ever gone to. So what I understand is that most events are really big, and the authors typically sit at a table and you go up to all the tables, but this one is designed for interaction. So we'll have a couple dinner parties, and then we're going to go on some excursions together. And so it's really going to be a lot of fun.
It sounds like it. I can't wait to hear about it when you get back.
Yeah, end of June. Can't wait.
And the name of the group page on Facebook for people to check it out?
Sure, it's Eva's Elementals. We do tend to be naughty in there, so be prepared. It's quite fun.
It is quite fun. It is. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And how did you get into writing in general? How long have you been doing it?
I have been trying to write a book in one way or another. Gosh, how old am I? I'm 36, so probably for almost 20 years. I just couldn't find the right story. So writing and reading has been a really strong part of my life. My mom was an English teacher and a librarian, and so reading was integral into everything we did. And that bled over into writing. And, it's just always been really important in my life. And now finally I was able to do it.
Wow. What did she say when she first read it?
She's my mom, so I didn't particularly want her to read it at first.
I can't wait to give it to my mom.
Yeah. Well, she was like, she said, everybody has sex. It's fine. I'm like, okay, got it, Mom. And then she actually really enjoyed the story, and that was really neat. And now my sisters read it, and my stepmom, and a bunch of friends, and it's just like, okay, this is exciting.
It is. It must be so exciting. So you followed your dreams. Any tips for sticking to the course?
Just keep trying. It took me a good 20 years to figure it out, and I think sometimes it's easy to think you won't be able to do it, but if you just keep pushing, then you can figure out a way.
How did you lean into the romance, Janir? Romance and paranormal is involved there.
So I had always kind of avoided romance for a long time because I was under the impression that it wasn't real stories. But then I accidentally read one. It was a book by Montana Ash called it was WARDEN, and it just blew my mind away. It was so good, and the story was so engaging and fun. And then I started reading more and more and more, and it just kind of clicked. Like, oh, okay, this makes sense to me, So it was accidental.
Does the paranormal part of it come into play because of your regular job?
A little bit, because a lot of my patients do live in their own kind of world. Sometimes they talk to people who aren't there, or, they see things that I can't see. So I find it really interesting in that aspect, but I'm just really a super nerd. So anything paranormal and magic and outside of typical is kind of where I fall, because I am a super nerd.
It was so enchanting. It took me away. I couldn't put it down.
Oh my gosh.
And it's only, I just looked at it and realized it's only like 230-ish pages.
Yeah.
But it seemed like, 500 page
Oh my
book.
gosh.
Because the story is so well designed and it plays out. Everything transitions smoothly. You understand where everything's going. There's no gaps. And you don't go out of your way to over describe things. You just lead us into these areas and you can see it in your mind's eye. It's just such a gift to be able to do that.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Um, so I really like painting as well. And so I kind of view writing as painting with words. And when you paint something, you want to show something. You want to show some sort of concept or thought or image to the viewer. But you also kind of want to leave a little bit hanging. You don't want to try and tell people what to think. And I feel the same way about writing. Like I want everybody to take this and be able to integrate it into themselves, so that it's something meaningful and fun for them. So yeah, painting with words.
Definitely. Because you never told us how to think about it. Our emotions changed along the way, but you dragged a lot of emotions out of us and you surprised us so many times, but it made perfect sense along the way. But it was just so entertaining, so engaging. I really can't wait to save, like, my girlfriends and my mom are going to love it.
I hope they do. I really do. I like bringing joy to people.
Well, you definitely do. What are your plans for future series?
So I have a couple spinoffs from this series coming. I don't want to give away too much because it's characters that are introduced in book 2, so I don't want to say too much. But I also have, I'm going to be part of an anthology for the Court of Sin. One of the tale I'm doing is called The Nerd and the Perv, and it's a twisted fairy tale. Then I have a series planned about the Queen of Hell, because why not?
Wow.
And that's kind of what I've got on my plate for this year.
Oh, that's all?
Trying not to. Yeah. Just a little bit. I've got to get book 3 done.
A little goal-driven in there?
Yeah, yes. I would like to quit my day job at some point. I love my day job, but writing is my passion.
Oh, it definitely shows. And
thank you.
What about your reader groups and interacting with readers? How did you develop that?
That is so much fun. I try not to force it too much, and I know I should interact a little bit more than I do. But it has been so much fun getting to know people literally around the world. One of my readers from Australia sent me a care package one day, and it's just I've made all of these friends. Some of them I would truly consider friends now. And it's amazing to be able to interact with everyone and play silly games and kind of naughty games and just have a good time.
Definitely. How do they influence like the next part of the series in any way?
Yes, in that I really don't want to let them down. So I think that's every author's fear is letting your readers down with a mediocre story. So, it really pushes me to try and do a little bit better and make sure that the story is flowing right and that I really put in my full effort for them. Because, without them, there would be no Eva Blackwing.
That's true. But you can definitely see that you do that because you can see how much was put into the first book. And then it just had like a little touch of erotica. Not hardcore, nothing crazy, but it was just like, just
enough.
Just enough to like go.
Yeah, just enough to get you going.
I want to see what these guys look like in real life. Why don't those guys exist?
I know. I need a magic wand and just like, ding.
I know. It's one of those books where you're like, I really hope men read this.
Yeah, yes. Because everybody loves their book boyfriend, and everyone has a favorite book boyfriend. So, it's fun to be able to write those characters and really see where they go because they develop a life of their own. And sometimes you think you're going down one path, and then the character takes a hard right, and you don't really know what's happening.
So, how do you plan it? Do you have sticky notes? Do you have pictures?
I really like lists and outlines. I think it's because my mom was an English teacher, so anytime I had to write anything, I had to make an outline first. So I outline everything and then I use it as a guideline. Um, Sometimes that really works well, and sometimes not as well, and then you have to redo it a little bit. But
Well, do things in everyday life change the way the story plays out?
um, it hasn't really so far, but I think that it's impossible to not be influenced by your daily life. So I'm sure that something has bled over, but there's nothing that I have intentionally bled over, if that makes sense.
Okay. And what about your research? What do you research?
I spend a lot of time researching Celtic mythology and and rules of magic, which is kind of weird because magic's not real. But wanting to make sure that you don't do something totally off the wall that would not make logical sense. Um, so yeah, but lots of Celtic mythology.
No, I love the whole setup, where the guys work. I'm trying not to give anything away, but where they work and how that all played out. That was
Yeah,
just really intense. And where she worked when they first met. And then
yeah,
the shocking part was how she grew up and what their intentions and plans were for her for the future. That was scary because that still happens.
yeah. And I think a lot of people have those scary moments in their life where something forces you to grow, and you can either grow and improve and get better, or you end up stagnating and kind of hiding in fear. And I think we have those moments, um, not just once in our life. I think it happens several times. And so, you know, um, I wanted the story to be about somebody who is just confronted with this big thing and then chooses to take it and run with it and become what she is fully capable of.
You did. You touched on a lot of great subjects, like the value of friendship, and ignoring people that, don't understand or make something more than it is in public situations. Like you instilled a
Yeah.
lot of confidence in people.
Yeah. I think we spend a lot of time in our society trying to live up to social media standards, um, which are impossible. It's so impossible to try and be perfect all the time. Um, and I think it's important for people to learn confidence in themselves, regardless of what others are saying or doing. Um, that's just a really important thing for me to be proud of yourself and who you are, and to stand up for that.
Right. And that, you're going to grow, you're going to meet new people, you're going to find where you fit in.
Right.
It might be a struggle to get there and overcome some things, but just the way you brought us through that, it was one of those books that you just enjoyed reading that, left you with that essence of hope. And it was like, when Rocky like runs up the steps, it gave
Yeah.
you that moment at the end.
Oh my gosh.
So it
Oh,
was just really well done, really inspiring, and just amazingly fun to read. The romance totally like just left you
oh.
like breathless.
Well, I will warn you that book two is turning out to be a little bit more intense than book one was. So be prepared for that. Um, yeah, it was a little bit more than I expected to, but it get you with the romance.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I can't wait to read book two. And you said it's out in March, right?
Yep, it'll probably be towards the end of March. So I'm excited. I've got the cover already ready, and I use a Mibel Art designed it, and they're just fantastic. Um, so yeah, It's cool. It's
So
fun.
it's definitely for 18 and over, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's not for under 18. No. Please be a
That's
grown up.
okay. We have to grow up to be able to read some things.
Exactly. You gotta have something to look forward to.
Exactly. Well, thank you for so much of your time today and sharing all of the wonderful elements that went into making Faye Lost.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. This has been fun.
Oh, my pleasure. Enjoy the weather in Texas, even though you guys are getting a cold spell.
It is, yeah. It's like in the 50s. I'm dying.
Okay. And for those of us in New Hampshire, we're like, that's
Yeah.
summer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've lived in Minnesota and in Maryland, so I've been to real cold, but this is about as much as I can handle.
Well,
Yeah.
enjoy the rest of your weekend. And thank you again for allowing us to share this book with our fans.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And until next time, if you guys want a great romance, Faye Lost and the entire series promises to just whisk you away. We'll see you soon. Keep asking questions.